perceived political opponents, people with contrary opinions, including legislators and judiciary, by the police and other security agencies must stop. There must be strict adherence to the rule of law and protection for all citizens by the President and all his appointees. 4, the President must be held accountable for the actions of his appointees and must be ready to sanction those that carry out any act which will ridicule or endanger our country and our democracy. 5, the government should show sincerity in the fight against corruption by not being selective and also prosecute current appointees that have cases pending against them. 6, the sanctity of the National Assembly should be protected and preserved by the federal government by not interfering in the business of the National Assembly and prosecute those who invaded the Senate to seize the mace.
The federal lawmakers also noted that harassment and humiliation by the executives, as well as prosecution of perceived political opponents by police, must be put to an end, adding that the executive must ensure a strict adherence to the rule of law. Furthermore, the National Assembly said they will not hesitate to impeach the president, whom they say must be held accountable for the actions of his appointee, as they reaffirmed the vote of no confidence passed on the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris.
We also hereby reaffirm our earlier resolutions of the vote of no confidence on the Inspector General of Police, who does nothing other than preside over killings of innocent Nigerians and outright disregard for constitutional authority of both the executive and the legislative. And finally, the National Assembly will not hesitate to evoke its constitutional powers if nothing is done to address the above resolutions passed today. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the executive?
The lawmakers who maintained a vote of no confidence on the Inspector General of Police, however, passed a vote of confidence on the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, Yakubu Dogara, and Olubukola Saraki. Both chambers, however, adjourned plenary indefinitely. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, has appointed Adamu Abdulkafarati as the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court. The President wrote a letter to the Senate requesting the confirmation of Abdulkafarati's appointment. Abdulkafarati's swearing-in was sequel to the President's failure to nominate a successor to the former Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Ibrahim Otta, who was due to retire on September 16, 2017. President Buhari's letter was read by the Senate President today, shortly after a joint executive session with the House of Representatives. You will recall that Abdulkafarati was sworn in as the acting Chief Judge of the Federal High Court in September 2017. The Department of State Services, DSS, has partially returned some of its operatives who were withdrawn from the security team of the Senate President, Bukola Saraki. You will recall that the DSS had withdrawn some of its operatives from the security details of Saraki and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara. According to reports, about 5 of the operatives recalled have been returned back to the security details of the Senate President. And Nigerian youths have been urged to prepare themselves to run for public offices ahead of the 2019 elections. This appeal was made by a social commentator, Wale Ogundare, in an interview with Superscreen today in Lagos, while reacting to the Not Too Young to Run bill recently signed by the President, Muhammadu Buhari.
Some are ready, some are not ready. There are 3 things I see. You have to be politically ready, which means you must belong to a certain political party with certain ideologies. I think the second one is you have to be economically savvy, which means you must understand what the economy requires for it to grow. And that growth must be inclusive growth, which means everybody must have equal opportunities to grow and develop and be able to feed themselves. The third one is, I believe individuals must have the right cultural mindset, which means the mindset of knowing what is good, what is not good, and the willingness, to say, look, what I want to do is is what is beneficial to everybody rather than what is beneficial to a few.
He gave suggestions in areas that should also be addressed in the entire economy of Nigeria.
The conditions for getting into the political offices must also be relaxed, because today I understand before you can get into the presidential office you need to pick up a form of about 10 million naira. How many youths have 10 million naira to do that? You know, how many youths have the required coalition to say within the party that I want to create we can raise 10 million naira, and all we're trying to do is to get a president into the office. You notice every party must have a, an amalgamation of people who want to either be governors, presidents, House of Reps, House of Assemblies and all of that. I think where the youth needs to start from and be very, very vociferous about is to get into the State House of Assemblies, the local government positions, as well as the National House of Reps and the National Assembly positions. Those are the places where I believe they can begin to make immediate changes, regardless of who is president. And I think in a bit, we should see a very young president in Nigeria, because he or she would have been well grounded, into the know-how and the nuances of how to rule a country.
Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal has approved the appointment of Umar Dodo as the substantive clerk to the State House of Assembly. Tambuwal, who disclosed this, said the appointment is in line with the law establishing the State House of Assembly Service Commission. The governor said a letter to the effect has been communicated to the new clerk. And Dodo's appointment followed the demise of the former clerk, Alhaji Suleiman Mohammed, who died on May 29, 2017. Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose has warned his Ondo State counterpart, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, to tread with caution over support for former Governor Kayode Fayemi, representing the All Progressives Congress (APC). Fayose, who disclosed this to journalists, called on Akeredolu to avoid things that can cause problems in Ekiti State. This is in reaction to the shooting of the former House of Representatives member Opeyemi Bamidele and 5 others last week in Ado-Ekiti at an APC rally held in honor of Fayemi. Meanwhile, Governor Akeredolu has denied reports of him being behind the shooting in Ekiti State. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Osun State has lashed out at the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Boyega Famodun, over his recent comment on those seeking its tickets for the Osun governorship polls. A statement signed by the PDP Publicity Secretary in the state, Sunday BC, described Famodun's comment and the quality of governorship aspirants on the platform of the party as disparaging. It said such statement, in which the competence and ability of PDP aspirants are questioned, reflected paucity of knowledge and respect for truth, adding that Famodun's lacked decency in political discourse. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences (ICPC) has arraigned the suspended Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission, Munir Gozo, and the Commissioner, Zakwana Garuba, for acts of corruption involving alleged mismanagement of $115 million. The ICPC accused Gozo of receiving the sum of 40 billion naira as severance and severance benefits where he had yet to retire, resign or disengage from the service, and also the sum of 10 billion naira in excess of car grant in the same period. An executive commissioner, corporate services of the SEC, Garuba, was accused of conferring a corrupt advantage on another public officer and the president of Gwazo by approving the payments to the suspended DG boss. An Oyo State High Court sitting in Ibadan has refused the application by former Governor Adebayo Alao Akala and the Chief Executive Officer of Pentagon Consults, Olufemi Babalola, for a stay of proceedings pending the outcome of an appeal at the Supreme Court. The former governor, alongside a former commissioner for local government and chieftaincy affairs, Osia Agbola, are standing trial for offenses bordering around alleged criminal conspiracy and fraudulent practices to the tune of 11.5 billion naira. Spokesperson for the Commission and Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Wilson Owajaren, said that they were earlier arraigned on an 11-count charge by the Anti-Graft Agency. The Deputy Director of Kogi Ministry of Education, Haruna David, has suddenly collapsed and died in his office today. Report says David was immediately rushed to the Federal Medical Center, Lokoja, where he was pronounced dead by medical officials. The deceased hailed from Ogudu, Alamaboro local government area of the state, and was the unit chairman of the ministry's Association of Senior Civil Servants Association of Nigeria, and the chairman, Lokoja branch of Ogugu Development Association. The public relations officer of the Ministry of Education, Seidu Adamu, confirmed the incident but refused to add further comments. Coming up tonight on Superscreen Flagship News, Nigeria returned $600 million belonging to international airlines, and that's on the business scene. Details of these and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Superscreen Flagship News, reaching you live from Lagos State, Nigeria. And now for some business stories, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, says Nigeria has returned $600 million belonging to the international airlines that was trapped in the country due to foreign exchange shortages. The Director General of IATA, Alexander Dejuniak, on its website gave the credence of the 74th IATA Annual General Meeting and World Air Transport Summit in Sydney, Australia. Dejuniak said the funds were airlines ticket sales and other allied activities which the country could not return due to the fall in crude oil earnings in late 2016 and early 2017. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has approved an upward review of a trading margin available to operators of the Bureau de Change, BDC, in the country. The Acting Director, Corporate Communications Department of the CBN, Isaac Okorafor, confirmed this in a statement today. Okorafor said following the approval by the Apex Bank, the BDC operators can buy dollars at the rate of 357 naira and sell at 360 naira, adding that this will leave them with a positive margin of 3 naira per dollar sold. He maintained that the decision was aimed at giving the BDCs a level field to enable them compete favorably with other authorized dealers in the foreign exchange markets. Still in business, President Muhammadu Buhari says his administration has spent $9 billion on power, roads, and rail projects in the country in the last 2 years. The president said it is part of the ongoing plans to diversify the economy through the development of tourism, agriculture, and solid minerals, adding that the federal government is investing heavily on infrastructure. President Buhari disclosed this at the 61st meeting of the United Nations World Tourism Organization and Commission for Africa in Abuja. The president said as part of his administration's social investment program, the government is giving 5,000 naira monthly to some 297,973 poor homes in the country. And the Association of Luxury Box Owners of Nigeria, Alban, has asked for the intervention of Vice President Yemi Oshibajo in lifting the ban on their business by the Lagos State government. The president and chairman of Ife Sinachi Group of Companies, Emeka Mama, disclosed this to journalists after the group paid a courtesy visit to Oshibajo at the presidential villa, Abuja. According to Mama, sometime in 2017, the Lagos State government issued an executive order directing all transporters on the Ikorodu corridor to relocate to Ojota. He said since the order, the group tried its best to meet with the governor, Akinwumi Ambode, to resolve the problem without success. Mama also said that the deployment of police in the Ikorodu axis to stop the businesses of the bus operators in the private parks and cripple the transportation of persons and properties to different parts of the country within the recent time. Still ahead tonight on Superscreen Flagship News, United States prosecutors accuse Manafort of attempt to tamper with witness. That's on the foreign scene. These and many more stories coming your way after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back if you're just joining us. This is Superscreen Flagship News, broadcasting to you live from the city of Lagos. And for some international stories now, United States prosecutors have accused Donald Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, who is facing multiple charges of money laundering, bank fraud, and illegal lobbying of attempting to tamper with witnesses. A motion submitted by special counsel Robert Mueller said Manafort had contacted witnesses by phone and encrypted text messaging for the purpose of securing materially false testimony. It also said such activities amounted to a violation of his bail terms, which triggers the statutory presumption in favor of detention, meaning he could face jail time before his trials. Manafort has been under home confinement since it was indicted in the month of October. And Ethiopia has lifted a state of emergency imposed in February following the abrupt resignation of Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn after months of protest. State-affiliated FANA, who disclosed this, said Parliament approved the bill to end the emergency rule 2 months earlier than planned. You will recall that mass protests erupted in 2015 when anti-government demonstrations broke out among the Oromo and later spread to the Amhara people. The protests, which initially began over land rights but later broadened to include calls for greater political representation at the national level, were met with a harsh government response. And now for some sports stories. Federation International Football Association, FIFA, says it has filed a criminal complaint against the secondary ticketing firm Viagogo's sale of the 2018 World Cup tickets, and of opening a new battle between the sports organization and websites seeking a share of their profits. The association said in seeking legal action, it is joining other sports bodies, including the European Football Confederation, UEFA, which has previously taken Viagogo to court. It also said anyone with a ticket that can be traced to an authorized resale site may be refused entry to the World Cup matches. And now Manchester United have reached an agreement to sign Brazilian midfielder Fred from Ukrainian giant Shakhtar Donetsk. United made the announcement on their official website earlier today. Manchester United is delighted to announce it has reached an agreement with Shakhtar Donetsk for the transfer of Federico Rodriguez at Paula Santos. Report says the deal is believed to be worth around $52 million, while Fred won 3 league titles and 3 domestic cups during his time with Shakhtar Donetsk. Is in Brazil's 23-man squad that will